After the presentation, we will start our panel discussion section. Today, we have Dr. David Chung, our Chief Technology Officer of Cyberport, to be our panel chair today. Dr. Chung is a very experienced professional for the ICT industry. Dr. Chung joined the Cyberport as the CTO, leading the core public functions such as IT&T Services Operations, Technology Center, Collaboration Center, and the Entrepreneurship Center. May I now call upon Dr. Chung, please.
So since we have such a a group of experts here, so I would just maybe you have been trying very hard, quietly try to listen to a lot of our great speaker. So I would open the floor first, and then and see whether you have some questions or follow-up questions to individual speaker, or maybe to Lawrence about our industry trend. And we would make it more interactive and much more fruitful discussion. How about that? Okay, may I ask the floor whether you may have some questions to begin with? Yes, please. Yes.
Thanks a lot for the presentations. Quite insightful, I'd say, in terms of new UX. One thing that I saw as a common factor between most of the user experiences is that you're trying to aggregate or make, for example, the Windows Phone. The Facebook app is less relevant now because I have the updates from people. It was similar in Jolla. I didn't see what Blackberry did, but if that kind of integration is happening, how does Facebook react? Because one of Facebook's new revenue sources is trying to get these ads, horribly ugly ads, onto their Facebook app, right? How does this affect them? Because the Facebook app usage decreases now.
Okay.
And have they talked to you about it?
Andy, you want to take that?
Hi. Okay. I think I will speak for Windows Phone's case, right? For Windows Phone, in our People Hub, that is the contact list, right? We have been doing a lot of work in aggregating all of these popular social networks. However, as I said, as we consolidated that for the convenience of the end user, right? For the convenience of the end user, it is by no means we want to recreate another Facebook application. So in fact, as in the usage scenario of the aggregated feeds or information, what we can do is that we can see the latest updates. We can see the details of each update. We can reply to it, okay? And we can see others' comments on the same post, right? So that is about that all. Because in the usage scenario that I've just described, right? You walk in the street, you take out your phone, you have limited time, right? But you want to get the latest information. That's it. Right? That's the user scenario that we want to tackle. However, if, for example, you are a Facebook page owner, you want to update it, you need to get your pictures on it, etc. You need to do some administrative work on your Facebook page. You need to get the Facebook application. So there are different levels of usage scenarios, and I think all those advertising, etc. Still, inside the application, it is very important. Yeah, for an application to survive, to make revenue, right? Yeah, so that's the case for Windows Phone.
Okay, maybe I can add a little bit to it. I cannot speak for Facebook, but the concept of aggregating different services and bring them together onto the screen is definitely an enhancement to user experience, because you remove the need of logging into different applications or invoking different applications. From an internet service point of view, this is my personal feeling that it actually helps the service provider. It helps Facebook, or maybe Yuan in China, or QQ, because you have a lot more information floating, and it triggers the end user to react to it. And by triggering more reaction, more activity to the surface, in general speaking, it is advantageous to Facebook and the service provider.
Yeah, and I think I'll also add as well, I think you've given me a good chance to talk about one of the features in BlackBerry 10 that I sort of didn't spend too much time on. I was talking about the UI and concepts. But I mean, in our contacts application, we do aggregate data from all the social networks, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, everything into a single contact. So we do that as well. But I mean, with regards to your question, I think it's a very different purpose. I think, as Andy has mentioned, as an operating system, we sort of focus on delivering relevant information at the right time. So if you're going in for a meeting, you look at a contact, you check his Facebook updates. Or, for example, in his example where you call a person, you look at his Facebook updates. But the Facebook application is more for looking for more than that, right? You're looking at all your friends, you're looking at photos, videos. So we're basically stripping out all the irrelevant stuff and really try to provide it in a very timely manner, something that's critical to the user at that particular time.
Users love it. I love aggregation. It's just that Facebook probably does not like it because now less people will be using Facebook. A similar example would be, I think Windows Phone had a YouTube app which had sort of bypassed the advertisement from Google, right? And then Google basically said, told Windows to redo that app in order to recreate the advertisement experience, right? A major source of revenue is being diminished for like these app providers, and just their point of perspective. From users, we love it. I hate ads, and I hate the Facebook app, so I'd rather have an aggregator. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So, please.
I have a question for Alan. So, to me, the mobile phone is used to be a very important device to send the emails. Have your teams did some sort of a typing speed or whatever benchmark in order to claim that you have the effortless typing?
I think we don't really have, you know, a very like a benchmark on, you know, QWERTY or versus touchscreen typing, but it's really a lot of user preference. I think a lot of people. I talked about one of the concepts about giving compelling feedback. A lot of people like QWERTY keyboards because they get they get the feedback of pressing onto a key, and also hearing from users. A lot of them can type without looking at their keyboard, right? Something that you might not be able to do with a touchscreen device. So it's a very different type of experience that we provide to the user, not really in direct competition, I'd say.
Yes.
I would like to have some question regarding the currently the mobile applications quite often is the idea drive up the people to use. For example, my TV or WhatsApp is the ideas of this application to drive the people to use. But right now today you're talking about the user experience of the mobility, how it can drive up the people to use, and also how it can drive up the business opportunities. For example, the advantage. Yep. You got my question?
Lawrence, you want to?
Right now, quite often, that for example, the WhatsApp on my TV, due to its nature, the people use it, like it. But today we're talking about the user experience, better user experience to drive the people to use it. What do you think about this?
Maybe I can speak
please.
to a few points. So I think idea is one important factor of a successful application, but the other, you can't really leave out a bad user experience. I also mentioned, I think one of the points was bad structure and focus. If your application is not, the UI and the design is not structured well, it's really frustrating for a user to use it. So if you give the case of maybe WhatsApp before they had the voice feature, to use it, they have to, you know, click on, they have to select from to the menu, and they have to add a voice note to be able to send a voice message. And this is, they've improved the user experience in the recent builds by adding an icon so that they can just tap and hold. And this type of user experiences allow the user to focus on features that they should use. So WhatsApp probably thought, you know, voice messaging is something that's very critical. A lot of people don't want to type, they want a voice message, but they really need to improve the user experience for that idea to be able to be successful. for users to adopt. So I think user experience is a very, very important factor to a successful application.
One thing I can add is that a lot of people may thought that if you put in a lot of techy feature onto the app, then you will make it attractive. We actually did a survey about a year ago, and we found that it's not the case. I think the main thing is that you need to have single-purpose app. You need not and could not have an app that have many different multiple features like a department store. And those kind of apps usually are not popular. That's one thing. Second thing is that you need to give people the convenience without a lot of fancy, particularly for technology. Some of the unsuccessful app that we find is that they put in a lot of the unnecessary techy feature in it that people may find it have a wow or surprise in the beginning, but it's not really useful. And after a while, people find it's just an app that's not really useful to them. And the user experience, what you want to add becomes a subtraction. I think that's the thing I want to add, yeah.
Maybe I can add a little bit, which is probably it may or may not be relevant. From the application in general, the problem of having an application in a store that has thousands of apps in it is discovery. No matter how good your app is, it's not good until you're discovered, downloaded, installed, and experienced. That part, a lot of the, I think from a device usability's point of view, we can help the developers to enhance the discoverability a little bit. One of our thinking in Jolla is that we have this concept of social app stores. Rather than you're opening an app store and there was hundreds and thousands of icons and apps for you to develop, it enables an experience for among your friends to share the experience of using a particular app or the apps that they download. So this is, again, enhancing the usability of an app store or of an app discovering and sharing experience. That experience alone probably would help developers to allow the apps to be more discoverable and move on to the next step.
And one part of your question that I want to echo is that about how the platform can help these applications to drive their business, right? I think one of the things or one of the problems of when you think about application is that we can all think about this. As an end user, when will you click on an application icon? Think about that. It must be the time that you recall that application, right? Take My TV, for example, right? When will you click on the My TV icon? You must be aware that after I click that icon, I will be able to see Kumar, right? I will be able to see my favorite pop star, right? Then, or my favorite TV program. Then I click on that icon and consume those contents. Now, the key here, I think, is that what the user wants is the content. It's not the app, actually. It's not the app. And in fact, what is the best user interface you can think of? The best user interface is that there's no user interface at all. You go directly to the content, right? So take My TV, for example, and that is why I talked about live tiles, right? It's because when you go ahead and you go across a lot of different tiles or icons, suddenly you see that, oh, Kumar, right, is right there. Then you are, as an end user, you are being brought into the application. Because at that time, at first, I may want to call my wife, right? But suddenly, when I scroll, oh, I see my favorite pop star here, right? Or a piece of news that I really care about. Then I click on that tile and I go into the application. Now, in this way, you are actually bringing the end user into your application because of your content. That is what the end user really wants at the end, right? So I think if you ask about, hey, how the platform can help to drive the business and also echo to the discovery problem. After you installed 100 applications, you will never click on that icon again, right? Because you have too many icons. However, if we allow the content itself to surface up at the start screen or the home screen or even the lock screen, then that will help you compete with other applications with what you are most, you are strongest at, and that is your content, right? So I think that will help a little bit to answer your question.
Yeah, I hope that because we are talking about the next frontier. Even though we are just have 50,000 or I don't know how many apps we have available today, but I think Lawrence just mentioned we are just the beginning of our journey of true mobile, and I think that the UX, the user experience, really will drive the next wave of growth of many more different new applications to be developed. So yeah, we have another speaker. Another hands there, and I saw another hands over there. So
hi,
yes.
I think which user interface is the best one is really a philosophical discussion. But I just want to provide a slightly different perspective, because so far all we talk about is always from the manufacturer and from your perspective. I think maybe it's more constructive if you think from the user perspective. I'll give you an example, right? What's come up on the weather report, weather warning, it matters a lot more to me during the during my travel hours, in the morning or after work, right? Those information at that time to me is higher priority. But during my office hour, what happened on my WhatsApp or Skype or whatever is of lower priority to me. Whereas my company email will have much higher priority to me. So why can't we have an interface that factor my needs into consideration and allow me to set what is important to me during my one day in my life, right? I think that makes a lot more sense, because we're not exactly lack of information. We've got too much information. Flip the coin to the other side and try to look and think from the user's perspective, because that way, we have a lot of staff supposed to do work in our office, right? And I end up seeing them spend a lot of time flipping away on the phone, trying to find the right icon to find the right apps. But to be quite honest, what's on the TV during my office hours, my staff shouldn't care less. But after work, the WhatsApp has much higher precedence than the company email. They shouldn't be answering company email.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Thanks for your comment. I think we are almost trying to I think Andy just mentioned earlier is content. Content, personal. We touch upon some of the concept here. But any of you wants to kind of echo this or comment?
Or that's a good comment. I think that's what the ideal situation is. That's what all the platforms or even just smartphones in general are trying to achieve. If you see in the recent advertisement, where a lot of phones are always advertising that we're trying to adopt to the user behavior, we're being smart. But what we've done right now is it's not at that level yet. We're making our progress there. Different platforms have different unique features. Like for Blackberry, we have what we call priority hub. So we prioritize emails based on frequency, the importance of the subject, the important flags. And there are a lot of these things that we are, as a platform provider, trying to achieve. But at the other end, we need help from application developers to be able to educate them to deliver intelligently the content that's required. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's all, the responsibility doesn't just fall on the platform providers. I think also as developers, we have to educate them to be able to deliver the content more intelligently.
Thanks. Yeah.
The early speaker, the forecast mobile application in the car talking to car or machine talking to machine, and then this kind of related to the like the Internet of Things in the sense that each phone or each location required an IP address with the current IPv4, in which the kind of a domain name is so limited. So do you see that IPv6 will go up quickly to facilitate your kind of a forecast or the foresee happening?
I can't see the speaker. Ah, there you are.
Yeah. You can see from the mic.
Yeah, I can see the mic moving. I can't see you. I think Internet of Things itself is more or less like a target. I personally, myself, do not see actually each object having an ID, and then you need to track the location of each thing and all that. I mean, even in RFID days, in the early days, a lot of people in a way of a vision saying that RFID will be tagging everything, and then you can see the movement and track and all that. And that's even 10 years afterwards, still we are not seeing that. So I think it would be more like an application specific. So like for cars, if we, let's say, the car-to-car communications become more common and become more prevalent in the next 10 years, then cars itself, I think, would have specific application, let's say in safety, in communicating information such as traffic conditions, danger, hazard, that kind of thing. So in terms of broadly applying Internet of Things in a lot of different things in our life, I do not see that, at least for the next 20 years. And at least at this moment, I do not see the application for it. So from my point of view, I feel that whatever new technology that come up, it has to have an application behind it before it will become successful. Otherwise, it will be technology looking for a solution. Thanks.
Hello. I have a question to Mr. Cheung also. I agree with your last point now about nowadays that the mobile application is quite narrow. In Hong Kong, that's especially in the manufacturing, because if you need to more application on the mobile device and on the another device, you need to have that development. I would say that in Hong Kong, that the lack of the engineers to develop that the whole concept and all those things. That's the make that the thing is very narrow. Even you can see in the Hong Kong manufacturing, most of them only talking about Bluetooth speaker, Bluetooth, because it is an easy application about that. Is there any solution that we can have more that the engineers and all those things to develop that the application or hardware? The main point is the hardware development to solve the problem.
I think the hardware guys would say the same thing to us here, saying that it's hard for us to look for programmers there to do the apps. The main thing, I think, one of the main problem at the moment, what I can see is that a lot of the industry in Hong Kong, they are very vertical. They know each other very well. They may be competing with each other all the time, go to shows, exhibition all the time. But in terms of cross-sector interaction, we have not enough. I think it is important that if there's an opportunity there, we would establish more cross-industry linkages. The government may be able to do something to put in some encouragement funding to help that kind of cross-industry collaboration to come up with something more innovative. The main thing is the innovation. Once we have the innovation, then we need to pull the right people together. At the moment, our thoughts or our ideas limited by the more or less compartmentalized industry sectors that we are having at the moment. Having said that, the actual shortages of engineers and even programmers is real right now. Even I think a lot of people who are in the apps business, they would feel that it's difficult for us to hire good programmers, and I think that need time to change. I think because of the past 5-10 years, in terms of getting money as graduates, a lot of the people may be working in the real estate sector or in the banking sector. They would have lots of money. And in terms of classmates, let's say, if you are engineering field, your classmates who are doing in the finance field, they may have 3 or 4 times salary that you have. And that messages would pass on to the newer generation and thinking that, hey, With the first choice, I would go for the finance or business first. And then if I am not accepted, then we go on to engineering or computer science or IT. And that kind of thing is a supply and demand. If we are able to demonstrate that in this sector, like if we have successful apps developers who are entrepreneurs, who are able to bring in loads of money, and Cyberport will be able to help them, then I think that will slowly change. And people will think that a lot of the iBanks may not be a long-term thing because you may be rich today and maybe you lose all the money overnight type of thing. So like engineering and industry, they are more or less like brick and mortar. It would take time, but it's steady and it is safe. But on the other hand, if you have the right idea and if you have the right opportunity, you are able to make a lot of money. I think that would hopefully attract in more people.
That's true. Okay, so.
Hello, my name is Kaki. Just one quick question. I think today we're going to talk about mobility, right? So as of today, we're still talking about apps. So I think what I understand mobility is really about. I think we should think bigger than just talking about apps. So I give you a case, right? So it was really bad weather a couple weeks ago, right? The wind was really heavy, right? So I was thinking if I should go to the airport. So the first thing that I did is go to search. I search and try to look at the airport website. But the website itself, the airport website itself, wasn't really working on my mobile. So I think that's what I mean by mobility, right? The first thing is not, I don't think I will download the app, right? That is the mobility that I think we should be focusing. So to be more specific, my question is, I want to see anyone on the stage can answer. What is the development as of today in terms of responsive design? That is something that could truly bring or deliver the best user experience in terms of mobile, other than apps. I would like to hear, anyone can take on that, basically.
To your particular case, right? I think if we want to find a common technology or ways of delivering information, etc., across most of the platforms, right? That will be HTML5, I would say. So still, there will be a mobile browser. Information dispatch will be through this kind of web pages, but with HTML5, it seems the industry is moving towards that direction. Is most of the big vendors or platform providers, they are heading to this direction, and for example, Microsoft ourselves, we have also embraced a lot on HTML5, where you can actually build an application on Windows with HTML5, right? So that is I think for technology-wise, it is. Yeah. Do I want to follow up? Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I think I get your point, right? I'm not asking about the technology, right? I'm talking about. You're talking about technology, but you're still talking about, yes, we can build an app or hyper app that with HTML5, right? But that is still an app that you have an assumption that I have to download the app. But what I'm saying is, when I go to search, the first thing is, are you expecting someone visiting Hong Kong to download the app before they get the weather forecast, or before they can get the best user experience on the mobile to look up, if the airport is actually closing down because of the terrorist attack or because of the really bad weather? That's the point, right? Are you expecting them to download the app? And you are correct, and I agree that that's the content, a piece of information that I want to make sure that I get it on the mobile, and that is the mobility of UX.
Yeah, maybe I can kind of answer to it in two separate ways. One is the information, whether the government, airport, this information put in the open data structure, and then other people, apps, or can be aggregator, can grab those information and put it online. I think that is the infrastructure. I think Hong Kong government is one of We have the open data repository, which try to make sure those structure on XML format. We can easily address those, and at the same time, it being published, and then other apps developer can take advantage of those information. I think that's two-way. Yeah. So there's no perfect answer, and I think Andy is trying to demonstrate that today, actually, you no need to have specific apps. HTML so far is working, and a lot of game developer today, even though in the old days, you may need to develop different versions of apps in different OS platform. Nowadays, you may have HTML5 build, and then you can run on all different platforms. You just need a browser, and that's it. And then all the back end will take care all the streaming, all the rendering of the graphics, etc. And some casual games are already happening. Maybe some of the other application will follow on, because as you understand, your mobile will probably run most of the games, and those people are much more pushing the envelope, pushing the technology to make sure that more and more compatibility across different platforms, and I'm sure most of them will follow on. Okay, so this gentleman, yes.
I'd like to apologize to Francis, because this is going to be directed to him, because you're the new guy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I need to apologize.
So my first question is, since your Sailfish can download apps from the Android store, and one of the big things that you were talking about earlier was the gesture-based movements rather than pushing on the buttons. When you download an app from the Android store, will that also respond to your gesture movements, or will you have to use that in the sort of traditional Android way? And then I guess the question is how will you encourage developers? Because right now, if you've got a real application development company going, you'll design one for iOS, one for Android, and then maybe for Blackberry and for Windows as well. But quite frankly, based on the spread of what people are using, iOS and Android are the big ones if you want to make money developing apps. So if you can just design it for Android and still work on yours, why would someone want to design one that works just for yours? Until you get a sizable market share in the mobile operating space. And then my second question is kind of similar to that, is do you see yourselves as sort of moving into sort of an Android type position where, since you're an open source operating system, you will then let Samsung and HTC and everybody else put your Sailfish on their phones, but then you'll continue to sell the other half and maybe some other hardware? Or do you see yourselves more as like an Apple, obviously a smaller version at this point, but where you're really going to focus on hardware and software? Thank you.
Thank you. For your first question, the gesture UI is native in UI that we are promoting from the Sailfish operating system. The fact that we need to be compatible, that we are taking the compatibility approach, is that you mentioned it, that Android is commanding the majority of the market, and most applications out there are either Android or iOS. And this is for the user experience. From the user's point of view, you do need to abandon what you are familiar with and switch to a different platform. That's the last thing that we want to see. So that's allowing the user to have that freedom. In terms of developing application for the Sailfish OS, you're always encouraged to develop a native applications for the OS, because that's the only way you can take full advantage of what the features that the OS can offer, including UI, including all the APIs and all the infrastructures within the OS. It's a business decision that the application developer company will need to make. Okay, I would definitely, if you already have a strong presence in Android and in iOS, If that provides you a lot of cash flow already, you need to be futuristic, because no product will last forever, or no platform will last forever, right? So I do encourage to download our SDK and experience with it, and and hopefully in the process you will discover what your applications can be enhanced by the native capability that Selfish can support you, instead of following the Android, the traditional Android and iOS, limited by, of course, the API. So you mentioned about the other half. This is a totally new concept of application development, because no longer you are developing something that is just downloadable. You could design your application in such a way that part of the content or part of the delivery of your experience could be stored in the other half. So by putting them together, you're actually avoiding or allowing the user to avoid any kind of downloading. For example, you can store a song in there by just putting the cover together. The phone's ringtone is automatically changed to what the theme music of your game or whatever, or your application. Just an example. So that's an additional possibility that we are offering in that platform. Sorry, what's your second question?
That sounds like that
I had so much fun on the first question, so I forgot the second question.
That sounds like it might actually help that gentleman's problem over there. If you have two of your other halves, you have one other half that has all of your business stuff.
Okay, remember
and then
now.
The other half is for your personal stuff. I guess my other question, though, was the other half is obviously a very original concept. And I guess one of the questions that you mentioned about how you store your songs, maybe you store some games over there, maybe a whole separate set of applications, whatever it is. What kind of things end up being stored on the phone versus on the other half? Because maybe you don't want to end up switching other halves and then having no contacts or any of those things. And I'm sure that you guys are smart people. You didn't just put those together.
We all are.
But I guess my original question though was, do you see yourselves, in the short, medium term as focusing on hardware, software, or both? I mean, because it's one of those things where most companies end up choosing one or the other.
We put it this way: Jolla started out as a software company, as an OS company, but we believe that in order to deliver the user experience, we don't just deliver the software, and we're delivering a complete product, which includes the software and the hardware and what the consumer can directly interface with and use in the daily life. So that's our first stage. Over time, we'll be still a technology company, an OS company, that would be a focus on delivering the environment and the enabler for customer out there, be that enterprise customer, OEM customers, and individual consumer customers, to enable whatever user experience or business models that they are currently using, or maybe working together we can create new ones. So did I answer your question? Okay, thank you.
We are predicting a future. A lot of things. I think that's the whole purpose of this conference, is to really, try to excite you. Not just focusing on your current, business, but what's the next big thing. I think that's key. Okay, so I may able to take one or two more questions, and then we'll go into break. Yes.
Hi, I just want to ask about the how you come up with the insights about what is the next thing in an interaction, or do you start with observing users? How do you do your research? How do you just sort of sit in a room and come up with it, or just interested in your process about how you find that next thing, because often it's new and users are not going to tell you, hey, we want to have a tile. They're going to just sort of respond to that. So I just want to ask you that.
I think, as I also mentioned in the session, in the short session, the basis of all of our user experience and user interface concepts really drive from consumer needs. So we do have market research on user behavior, usage patterns, to really pinpoint on the areas of focus on how we can make interacting with the smartphone much easier from a user experience perspective. So that's probably, I mean, just speaking for BlackBerry, that's where we, that's the main basis of where our concepts come from.
And I think in terms of like, tiles, this kind of thing, this, radically brand new kind of user interface, first of all, it must comes from user needs, right? Microsoft is investing a lot of money in our research team, right? Which start off, of course, they'll be doing focus groups, studying user behaviors, what are the pain points currently, and then all the way up to, for example, you look at those tiles, what is a sensible size of the tile? There are only three sizes of those tiles. And the space between each tile are also fixed, actually, because we have some kind of study with the average thumb size, right? So that the spacing, if the spacing is like this, it is less likely that the end user will press the wrong one, right? So I think behind any of these successful platform, there must be a lot of research, patents, etc., standing behind that to support the innovation from there.
Okay,
last comment.
Okay. Just a quick comment. My quick comment is all of the above. You need to, first of all, you need to be a very active user. You use your phone in your daily life. You kind of experience the pros and cons of your current phone. And as a company, of course, the engineers will need to hack in the lab, and they need to innovate. They need to imagine things and it's that experiment with different concepts. And that's what the engineers do. And I think most important of all is that we need to spend time on analyzing user scenarios and understand the user. Various of users in different markets and different countries maybe have slightly different behaviors. As we all know, the internet behaviors in China, or for example, music may not be the same as the music consumption behavior elsewhere. So we need to spend some time on analyzing the user behaviors. That can be a lengthy process. And a lot of that knowledge is accumulative. It's not just like overnight you come to a conclusion. So it's a continuous process. From a manufacturer's point of view, it's also a continuous process that will strive to build the best user scenario or the best user experience. One thing that I can see in the short future, now I'm being a little bit of futuristic, is that yes, the phone would know you better than your wife. And if the phone in the future can be a networked intelligent, it's not just the phone that is smart, but the network creates a smartness that when you go to an airport, your phone knows that you have a friend arriving in Hong Kong. And it is your friend through your social networks. And it proactively send that message to you that you don't have to go to the airport now because the flight is delayed. That would be an interesting situation. Right now, I've experienced exactly the same yesterday, that I received 5 SMS telling me my flight is delayed, change, cancel, and at the end I end up give up my ticket and book another flight. But that's initiated by the airline itself, the content owner, not the surface, not the smartness of the phone. So we still have a long way to go. We still have a long way to go, but as an industry, we're moving toward that direction.
Maybe I'll take the last one, gentlemen. You have to.
Hi. Mr. Chung, you were speaking about the battery life consumption and this really dreadful problem. You, as OS developers, you are offering some very integrated social networking experience. That means that on the network side, you have a lot of consumption, a lot of data flow. Means that it impacts also the battery life and the battery consumption. Are you dealing with this, and how do you do that?
I'll respond first, and then you deal with it from your operating point. Yeah. I think the battery technology itself is actually rising up quite quickly. A lot of research has been put onto the actual increasing the capacity of batteries. So you look at your phone capacity in terms of the battery, or the phone maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, the capacity is a lot more than what it was before. But the problem is that we actually make use of the network much more often. Your screen is much bigger and much brighter, and the colors much more brilliant. And as a result, the battery itself is not catching up, so to speak, with the development. So I think both in terms of the device side and the operating system side, need to optimize how to react or co-work or co-labor with the battery to deliver a better battery life. But in terms of battery life itself, it's not only in mobile phones or smartphones. A lot of different area in terms of development, they need to have a lot better to provide a better values. Like even to actually go off topic a bit, like the electrical vehicles. There's more in my topics. That even at the moment, the electrical vehicles only travel 150 kilometers. And charging time is very long, and it doesn't work. And that has to change, and the technology has to catch up. The demand is there. So I think let you answer how your operating system all that.
Right. I'll go first, then you. Right? Yeah. So yes, battery life is extremely important. And when you see, all those on Windows Phone, all those tiles are updating. Actually, not all of them are updating. We do have a maximum on that to protect the battery life. And also the frequency of the updating, we actually have some kind of restriction to the application developers. Okay, so the kind of information, that means, for example, you cannot stream a movie on the live tile, okay, and consume those bandwidth. So we do have this kind of restrictions to the application developers in order to save the battery life. And I think it is kind of a balance that we need to strike. And in terms of the user friendliness, the value that we give to the user, and also the practical side, right? So this is still evolving. Every application, when they submit it to the Windows Phone Store, there is a certification process, right? Just like on the other platforms, and we actually safeguarding this for the whole ecosystem, so that it will not be draining all your battery within 2 hours, right? So that we're making sure that will not happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think all the platforms are really trying hard to address this issue. It's a cross-platform issue. I mean, every user is complaining about battery life just when smartphones were first released. And I think from a lot of different technologies or different perspectives on how we preserve battery life, for Blackberry, we're known for our push technology, and the reason why it is the case is because, without getting too technical here, on other platforms on other platforms, a lot of the push when they arrive, it's actually a notification where the developer receives a notification and then they send another request to the server to get the information. With Blackberry, we allow the data to be pushed through the notification itself, so it doesn't make another trip back to the server. And these little things actually matter a lot, especially in instant messaging applications where you're sending 100 or 1,000 messages a day. It has a very high impact on battery power, and a lot of different technologies we're trying to invest in and trying to get better battery life. Another thing is, and to be quite frank, like 2 decades ago when we released our first Blackberry operating system, the Blackberry OS, not the Blackberry 10, the old one. The operating system was designed to handle text messaging and emails, right? We never thought about games being a major app usage for an average user. So I think, like from my own perspective, I think it's a slight advantage where we have a bit more modern operating system now that we have Blackberry 10. We've rebuilt the operating system, so we're designing the operating system for the future, basically. And I think there's a slight advantage here being the most modern operating system that's out there.
Actually, I want to add one more thing. We may need to think out of the box to solve the battery problem. Because at the moment, the user are having split personality. On one hand, you want a lighter phone, you want a very thin phone, you want many features on the phone, you want camera, you want everything on the phone, and yet you want to have the battery last for a whole week. It doesn't work. I mean, at the moment, the current technology would not allow that. We may need to think out the box in terms of having maybe some of the development in the wireless power area, that phone can be charged or power can be delivered through a wireless means. At the moment, the charging distance is still quite short, but we may never know, because if there's a technology that allows the power to be transmitted wirelessly, then in that case, that problem can be at least mitigated a little bit more.
It's good. Well, time is kind of running behind, but I think we still have some time for networking out there. So I would just need to thank all the speakers, and you all, have asked the great questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you all. I would like to announce that the Cyberport Speaker Series 2013 is coming to the end. Of course, without all of you, our event won't be a success. Therefore, we would like to have your comment and feedback on today's forum. So please take a few minutes to fill in the questionnaire and give it back to our reception counter. Okay, and we have the second things to remind you that the shuttle bus go back to MOT will be depart at 4:45. And if you want to take that bus, then so please be ready yourself. And now let's have some refreshment out of the room and mingle between yourselves. Thank you.